afternoon. We are on another Friday, and this one happens to be the last day of January 2025. And I am not sure where the month has gone, but it is zipped by us, and we're heading into February tomorrow. And as I was attending the Memory Institute this week, Catherine Hagan, who's one of the facilitators of the Memory Institute workshop, picked up some brochures that she had passed out that were put out by the National Institutes of Health. And I really thought some of the tips, as I picked it up and started to glance through it, I thought the tips were just really excellent. So I'm going to share some of those today, and I'll put some more out next week. But I thought it was excellent, well done, and it talked about your healthiest self. How do you keep track of your emotional wellness? Emotional wellness, so they started by defining it as the ability to successfully handle life's stresses, which I think we all have. You could call them life's problems, challenges, and how we adapt to change during difficult times. And we certainly appear to be in some difficult times right now with the politics and the national debates that go on just about every day. And certainly got thrown into a whole different mindset as we heard about this horrible plane helicopter accident. So does it put us, as we listen to it, how sad that is and how tragic the events were, to think about the emotional reactions that we each have. And so the booklet gives you a few tips on what you might be able to practice that helps with your emotional health, which is obviously critically important to our memories and to our cognitive fitness, because it's obviously as we put our bodies through stress and problem intensities, we can feel it. I sometimes feel it in my jaws. I can feel it right up in here as it comes down from my ears. Sometimes you feel it in your neck and your stresses. Sometimes people feel it in their stomachs and their ulcers that they get. And so how we process and how we handle the various things in our day-to-day lives that create a level of stress where we can just feel our bodies kind of tighten up, all important to us. And so we have to stop and recognize that we all feel stress at some time in our day, possibly. Depends on what we're listening to, who we may be talking to, what we're talking about. And it gives us a rush of energy to actually do fight or flight when it's necessary to fight or fight. But if stress is lasting a long time, this high alert, this high awareness that we have that comes to us, this high fight or flight that we get, it becomes more harmful. And it's not a good thing for us to be able to have on a day-to-day basis, especially if it's prolonged and it spikes the cortisol we have in our bodies to where the cortisol then becomes a toxin and becomes deadly to us. So how do we cope with these levels of stress, and how do we build a level of resilience? So what are some of the things that you might do that at least this brochure recommends? And I think some of these that we've talked about over and over again, but I think the National Institute here has done a good job of kind of netting them for people. And I wanted to share, again, the reinforcement of this with people as you look at this National Institute brochure. So, getting enough of sleep. My goodness, have we talked about getting sleep? Well, here we go again, right? Adults need to get 7 hours or more. School-age kids need about 9 to 12, and teens need 8 to 10. Now, I've never ever seen that broken down so finite. But adults getting at least 7, so we get that. But how many adults are up working and taking care of kids and families and running errands and getting 5 or 6 and thinking, boy, they're getting all the sleep they need? And here comes the National Institute saying, oh, you better get 7. And by the way, if you're a school-age kid, you better get 9 to 12. And if you happen to be a teen, how about 8 to 10? And so you wonder sometimes why kids get up to school and they look like they're just dragging themselves out the door because the school bus is here at 7 o'clock or 7:30. And how many articles have we read recently that suggest that schools should start later and finish later? And yet we're going to get the teachers in, the principals, the superintendents, the school administrators. We're going to get the kids into classrooms, and we're starting classes at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And the kids are still sitting there looking like, do I really have to learn this stuff at this point? Depends on what you have on first period. Maybe if you've got gym classes or phys ed, you're better off. But anyway, getting enough sleep. We've talked about that a good number of times. And maybe getting up in the middle of the night and writing things down that are keeping you awake and keeping you stressed or challenged. How about exercising? Physical exercise, we talked about it in 3 cuts. We talked about physical exercise in aerobic. How about getting out and walking, 15, 20 minutes. This is suggesting 30 minutes a day of walking would help you with your mood and reduce stress. So, I'm not suggesting 30 minutes a day, though we're seeing 190 to 150 minutes of exercise a week. But not just aerobic. How about doing maybe 2 or 3 pound dumbbells, doing some curls, doing some sit-ups, doing some squats, sitting chairs. Building your thighs and your calves, standing up on your toes. There are the variety of different exercises you can do that are not just for your breathing, but also for keeping your muscles going to some level. And then, of course, the flexibility. So we're going to do some breathing, we're going to do some muscle, and we're going to do some flexibility. So we're going to do some exercises that help us with our hips, maybe with our knees, maybe our ankles, certainly some circle twirls and some foot twirls and things that are going to help us maintain flexibility in the various joints that we have in our body. Helping to manage stress. Do you have a social network? Do you have somebody you can go talk with? So the third thing they're suggesting here is build a social support network. And we've talked about that over and over again. Sit outside and watch people walk by. Say hello to someone. Go to the grocery store. Talk to the cashier. How's your day been? What's going on in your life? What do you do when you're not here at the grocery store? Just find people that you just can have a safe conversation with and just engage in some social support. Maybe there's a social support network. You've got a challenge. You've got a problem. You want to get somebody else's perspective. So there's a friend or a relative or somebody that you trust has always got their feet on the ground that can build a support network for you, that when you're hitting that, as I call it, hit that wall, you've got somebody you can pick up the phone and talk to. This is a tough one coming up. Number 4, set your priorities. My goodness, decide what needs to get done and what can wait. So no new tasks will make you feel that they're too much. Setting priorities, I have found, is one of the most challenging things for people to do. It sounds so simple, like what are your priorities? And yet we've seen so many consultants come talk about setting your priorities in your life. What are the most important things that you should be doing every day? Obviously, we need to get up. You got to get at the work. Well, did you have breakfast? So you're skipping breakfast. Did you get your morning cup of coffee? Did you skip your coffee today? What happened as you got up and one of the kids were asking you to do something for them and getting ready for school? And you just lose your focus on the things that you need to do, and before you know it, the day is gone. Are you setting the priority to exercise? Are you finding that time and making sure that you get that 15-minute walk before or after dinner? What are you doing to set your own priorities and making sure you stick to them and things are not diverting your attention? Show compassion for yourself. My goodness, I talk about this in Good In, Good Grows, and your self-talk. What is your self-talk doing? Are you beating yourself up? Are you just calling yourself names and abusing yourself when you are doing something that's not right, or you've not accomplished something, and you just call yourself in your self-talk, just the wrong conversation you're having within your intrapersonal dialogue? Do you schedule regular times for relaxing activities? Do you give yourself 15 minutes a day where you just sit, and say, I'm going to just, I sit out on my back porch, I just stare at the trees and I look for gators that are swimming in the pond. They just kind of go out into this mindless thought zone, for 15 minutes a day where I don't want to think about anything. So meditation may be the right word. You do yoga or Tai Chi or something some type of where your mind is just taking a break. And if you need to, do you seek help? Is there, the stress is just overbearing for you and you feel like life is just coming down and it's been personal as it attacks you. Maybe it's time to seek someone to give you at least a different perspective that has experience in this with people and has had a track record of some good results. And so off we go. Your sleep, your exercise, your social networks and support groups, your priorities, your own self-talk and compassion for yourself, setting time for relaxing activities, and then if you need to, find some help. And try one of those. I don't suggest you have to go through the whole list, but some good tips here. So try one of them, and on next week I'm going to pick up building some resilience and a couple of other suggestions I have. Building resilience, I'm going to look about how do you get better quality sleep and be mindful of where you're at. And we'll pick those up next week. I think it's an excellent brochure put out by the National Institutes of Health. And it talks about your healthiest self, emotional wellness. I think this is excellent. It's put out by the Office of Communications in Bethesda, Maryland. So go for it and see if you can take one of these suggestions that I offer to you on this Live with Tony today. And remember, it's weekend time, and hopefully you're not working and you've got some chores that you need to get done. Make that a priority. Get it done, and then enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you out here on Monday.